you check the children. Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
We got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are here to do a dual Patreon review. Well, a Patreon review and a sequel to the Patreon review.
Kind of lumping them together.
Indeed. So this was a poll winner a little while back, and Fuego and I actually recorded reviews for these probably about a year ago at this point.
I was about to say at least 6 to 8 months, man, but it's been on the back burner.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's a full year at this point.
Probably,
because the footage got corrupted and
time passes by.
Yep, and so we're here to re-record our review for Piranha from 1978 and Piranha II: The Spawning from 1982, a movie that Lance Henriksen most certainly was not in.
Yeah, which is very funny because he gave us some insight about that. And also shout out to James Cameron because he was fired from the proceedings of directing this, and yet it is still, I believe, on IMDb his first directorial credit.
Correct.
And he just surpassed the number 4 on the.
They're gonna get number 1.
It's insane.
Avatar 2.
Movie.
Yeah.
So
let's dive into Piranha 1, which
Joe Dante directed.
A Joe Dante film, and this is a film that is near and dear to my heart. I actually really liked this movie growing up.
It's grown on me over the years. I didn't like it much as a kid, but now I must say,
it's a clear sort of Jaws knockoff, like it's Jaws but in a river kind of thing.
Yeah, but I feel like more so it's a very self-aware Jaws parody to tribute because the girl is playing the Jaws video game at the beginning of the movie.
yeah.
So it wears its heart on its sleeve in that regard.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So this my overall thoughts on Piranha is that I really enjoyed it. It is a self-aware, sort of ham-fisted, creature movie.
Yeah.
Just in the same way that Jaws is a creature movie. It's just real life animals that don't really act this way, but used for dramatic purposes.
Why the hell not?
It's fun, it's fun. And the story actually is pretty quality when you think about it. It's almost like a Friday the 13th movie on the water when you consider the peril of campers. And stuff like that. But I really enjoyed this movie overall. You?
Yeah, that's the one thing that I would say that this movie does really well is it balances its camp with its creepiness pretty well, dude. It genuinely does, because of the fact that there's joking bits of dialogue between a lot of our peeps, but there is also the fact that the carnage is kind of crazy, like when the old man and his dog dies initially, and then later on when the stuff is happening with the camper kids, and then with the tourist goers for the theme park. And so it remains light enough, but it really maintains that sort of straddling of the lines of tension and whatnot. And it's especially prevalent in the fact that you've got lines from one guy in particular where he's sir, they're eating the guests, and it's pretty funny. And so that's the sort of thing that reins it in, and you're okay, it is parody, but yet it still does take itself seriously, which you don't often see.
Exactly. So what is the story of this one overall, just to hit it real briefly?
So the story of this is you have a girl who claims to be 2/3 bloodhound, and then she can't even find her flight, which is really funny, the ticket that is going to take her to said place. But so this girl ends up linking up with a guy who is in this area where there has been a bit of piranhas that are just schooling and being nasty throughout this particular place. And I'm trying to remember if it's Florida, somewhere back east, whatever. It's inconsequential.
Right.
But it's about these piranhas getting the chance to invade in an area where there's lots of people where they could consume. They have been genetically engineered, and they even come across this guy who has been part of the process of engineering them and working on them and such, and they take him captive at one particular point, which is a little weird. So and then piranhas wreaking havoc in areas where people would potentially live. It's funny because of the fact that there is a little of a romantic undertone between the woman who is kind of a I will track you down sort of person, and then the longtime divorced alcoholic who is the main lead dude. And aside from that, you've got some other peeps who show up who you will see in later Joe Dante films like Gremlins. I forget the name of said actor, but
Zach?
It's no, not Zach
Not Zach
Galligan.
Galligan, that was it,
Yeah,
yeah.
the dude who is he's the older guy in both. He's in the first and the second.
Oh,
film.
Murray Futterman?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
mhm.
He's great as
Dick
being.
Warlock. I think. No, not Dick Warlock. No, Dick. What?
I can't recall, but he's the guy.
I would
who
look it up
owns-
on the phone, but I know it's Dick something.
Yeah, he's the guy who
'Cause he was
owns
in-
the theme park that is being opened, and
His
so
last
on.
movie was Hanukkah, I think.
It might have been actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't recall specifics, but yeah, I mean, really, it's kind of a meat and potatoes sort of film. But what really just makes this stand out personally for me, story wise, is the snippy dialogue, the self awareness, the fact that they know they're parodying Jaws, and yet they still kind of make it distinctive. So
Yeah.
props to them for that.
Agreed. I really enjoyed this film for what it is. The story is simple enough, but it's effective, and you know, all the people getting attacked are appropriately freaked out and scared, and
Yeah.
it's an intense little movie if you're scared of the water. So I think it did its job very well.
Yeah.
And I thought the story, while a little silly, of course, it was played out well. Like the lab setup that they're walking through before they accidentally sort of free the piranha or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, well, even at the very beginning where they're like, the girl's name is Barbara, and I'm seeing echoes from, Night of the Living Dead, obviously, because the girl who gets killed at the beginning, his name is Barbara, and so, they're going to eat you, Barbara, and blah, blah, blah. And they parody that.
If I could get candid for a moment, I do believe that this was one of my early pause and toss films.
Oh, there's a lot of nudity in this movie. Let's be fair here.
I think she has to distract a security guard early on.
There's
and
one bit, yeah.
She literally jumps
and
in front of him and just flashes her tits.
Which also has a funny bit of dialogue that I remembered when I was rewatching it last
Look in
night.
the sky! It's Superman!
Yeah. Bam! Yeah, but
Titties.
when they're
I think that's why I like Superman so much too.
But when they're discussing that, though, it's even funnier because, like, the guy's like, well, just distract the guard. And she's like, what if he's gay? And he's like, well, if he's gay, I'll distract him, And he's like a bearded kind of like, yeah, if you're bear country,
bear
you'd be
boy,
into it. Yeah, which is funny. So in 1978, even this sense of self-awareness is pretty cool.
That's true. That's true. So effects-wise, I mean, it's fun. There's the shots of the piranha every now and again. There's the fact
And
that
not
they're like
CGI piranha,
like they make sounds like pigeons almost.
They do, which is a little weird, I guess. And the gore, once we finally get to it, it's okay. It's nowhere near the Greg Nicotero stuff you see in the remake.
Right. That's my jam, honestly.
Yeah, same.
This is very much to me like the Hills Have Eyes, where I just really like the remake better. But the original is so respectful in its own right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
respectable.
Yeah. As far as the remake goes, and we're gonna do a separate review of 3D and 3 Double D.
Yeah,
because I rewatched those both last night, which was fun.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, man, this one is it's really about the snippy dialogue between the two that I didn't pick up on as much when I was a younger kid, and like that essence of the humor is what really lands with me.
Yeah.
So much more significantly now. And the keys are chained to his pants, and then he's like, take off his pants, and then he's like, oh, I thought you could take a guy's pants off faster than that. Stuff like that is just. I don't know if it went under the radar for me as a kid, but it's just the weird interplay.
Probably, yeah. You're not focused on the sex side of things when you're a kid.
I want to see carnage and consumption. But that's the sort of thing that as I've revisited Piranha, it becomes more and more amusing to me is the just interaction between the characters.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, overall, it's a really fun, entertaining movie. I mean, it's shot well enough.
Yeah.
It's and the sound design is good and everything.
Yeah, it was Dante still like kind of sharpening his teeth, so to speak, in the 70s because he didn't get bigger until the 80s. But nonetheless, accomplished in parody and still, kind of maintaining some self-respectability, I guess.
Yeah. So I think the easiest bridge into the second movie is the fact that both of these movies were pause and toss movies for me growing up.
The second one too.
The second one starts off with a couple doing a scuba dive down into a shipwreck and then having sex underwater and getting attacked by piranha. And it is a very for a young. God, I don't even remember how old I was when I saw this. Let's just call me 13. Let's call me 13 when I saw it.
This is still
I was
a tough
2
one.
in 1982. I'm just saying, when I finally saw it, I was probably 13.
Yeah, it's still a tough one to find. You have to rent it. It's not like streaming anywhere.
Piranha 2: The Spawning. Yes, but this movie gets silly. It gets
does.
very silly.
I mean, as if the first one wasn't silly enough, but it does balance in the first film the silliness. This one just goes for humor that I don't think often lands because of the fact that, you know, you've got like the old women who are like wanting to sleep with the lifeguard, and then you've got like the fake drownings of the woman who she's like, oh, you're not a doctor, you're a dentist, and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I mean, it lands okay, but and then the girls who were stealing all the food, and they show the tits to the cook, and then they
they go on the boat and stuff.
Yeah, but it does get a little serious when they do have the actual spawning, hence the title transpire. And
we'll just hit the story real quick.
Yeah. So the story is the fact that I'm trying to remember if it's the Bahamas or if it's somewhere outside of the U.S. But you know, in any event, you've got you've got you have an estranged couple, which is really at the like center and the crux of this, and it's Lance Henriksen as the local like sheriff deputy,
which he'll deny to this day.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have his estranged wife, who is very obviously like looking around for other potential men to get down on the horizontal polka, to quote Steve Urkel. But then their son is also in play, and so he goes off on the ship with this girl who looks much more endowed than is necessary, you know, for her age and for whatever. And so you have that dynamic, and they get split off. And then there was also the aspect with the mother and her estrangement from Lance Henriksen's character. And so then it boils down to the fact that there is an annual thing called the spawning, which is where a bunch of these local fish that are adjacent to the water nearby, they jump on land. And all these drunk people go and they take the fish and they fry them up and eat them. Mm-hmm. However, they are going to contend with a much nastier bit of fish that will in fact attack them and kill them. And that's about all we have story-wise, really. There's not much else beyond that.
There's something equal to this. I don't know if it happens with what particular fish, but I do know that in San Diego they had something called the Grundy Run when I was growing up, and that's a certain time of year when all these little, I don't know if the fish were called Grundy, but it was called the Grundy Run because all these fish would beach themselves basically and just swim up onto shore for some reason. All these fish, and similar sort of thing where people could just go and pick them up. They'd still be flopping and literally just go and fry them up if they wanted to.
I would imagine, I mean, from my experience in Mexico, that is the freshest stuff from the ocean you can get, is when it was like sleeping there the night before and then you consume it right after, as barbaric as that sounds. But
I mean, you know, it does sound barbaric, but I mean, that's fresh eating.
I love me some seafood. You don't like seafood.
I don't at all. No, it's gross to me.
I
but,
adore
you know.
it. Yeah. That's like really all this is about, man. And you've got the inner relational stuff going down with Henriksen and his wife, and then lots of goofy set pieces. But that they lean into the goofy a little bit more, but then the gore isn't as
a lot of it more, considering the fish fly.
Yeah. Yeah,
they literally become flying fish where they have wings that they're able to fly all the way to. There's a mutation aspect, and there's a whole like Freddy's Nightmare on Elm Street 2 sort of pool party scene where all of the piranha attack and start killing everyone at the pool party.
As far as like from a horror standpoint, in the entire
film, it absolutely is. So I mean, it gets silly, it gets stupid, and the effects. I mean, they're equally silly in the first movie, so you can't really fault them for that. They just go a bit farther.
So.
They add wings to them and have them soaring through the air when they're attacking people.
And also, they do have a very distinctive POV, like drenched in red, sort of thing. When
fish vision.
When the piranhas are going to chomp on down and stuff like that. But as I think I said at the beginning of this review, James Cameron got fired by the Italian producers of this film in the midst of making it, and then somebody else finished it, which is why he, brushes his shoulder off and says, "Oh, that's not my film," or whatever. So he was a part of like 70-80% of it.
It would have been an hour and a half longer if it was his cut.
Well, also remember the one that like I watched the director's cut, and then you were mentioning some differences between the cut that you had seen.
Yeah, less boobies.
Yeah. So I've seen the director's cut because it's on YouTube, and that's the one I rewatched last night. So director's cut, it's like not even 90 minutes. I think the theatrical is longer.
Yeah.
By a little margin, but. But I mean, fun films, and I enjoy a little bit more so, in all honesty, what they did with the remakes. Guy who did
I
Crawl,
agree.
Alexander.
Well, I hated
Aja.
3DD. 3DD was terrible.
Okay, I was kind of a champion for that film until I rewatched it last night,
it's
and
so
holy
bad.
shit, does that film suck!
It's
Aside
so
from when
bad.
you get the characters from the original film back, like Christopher Lloyd and Ving Rhames, but aside from that. oof, it's really rough.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
Yeah, but the original with Joe Dante 1978 film is really fun, especially if you like Jaws.
I agree. All right, so thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to our patrons for all of your requests. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias a Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.